Do you enjoy fun fold cards? Let me show you how to make one with a little gift card pocket. Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here. Today we're going to make this adorable encouragement card. This is a simple design that you can alter to fit just about any occasion. I've been asked to guest design for Trinity's stamps and share a few more projects using some items from their new release. This Simply Sentimental Celebration stamp is a new favorite of mine, so I'm going to use it again today. I'll also be creating with the Oh Yes You Can stamp. This is a great size for standard card designs. The Fancy Fold card is very simple with a gift card holder inside. You will need a few basic pieces for this project. I'm using a standard white A2 size card base. This is sized at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You will also need some cardstock or pattern paper for the folded piece. This has been cut to 4 1/2 by 9 3/4. For the front panel, you'll need some pattern paper. This is cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and a small piece for the pocket. This is sized at 4 1/2 by 3 inches. To decorate the inside of the fun fold, I have 2 pattern papers. These are cut to 4 1/4 by 3 inches. You'll also need some white cardstock to stamp the images onto, ink for stamping, and a coloring medium. As I create the project, I'll bring in a few additional supplies and embellishments. As always, I encourage you to use what you have in your collection, but if you would like a detailed list of the items I'm using, I've provided you with links to the supplies in the description below. Let's get started with the project. I'm going to start with the Oh Yes You Can image. This is going to be stamped onto some smooth white cardstock using a black ink and a stamping platform. Since I'm using alcohol markers, I've selected an ink that will work with that medium. The ink that I'm using works with both alcohol and water-based mediums, but you might have an ink in your collection that you like to work with. One rule to remember is that opposites attract. If you're using an alcohol coloring medium, you want to use a water-based dye ink. For water-based mediums, like watercolors or shimmer paints, an alcohol-based ink is best. I have stamped the image twice because I'll be cutting out the sentiment image and raising it up off the card. It will also be shaded with markers, so I'm using the same type of black ink. Inside my fancy fold, I'll be adding a sentiment. You can stamp it directly onto the cardstock, but I wanted it to stand out a little bit more, so I'll stamp it on some white. I've cut this to 4 1/4 by 3 inches. I'm stamping 2 phrases from the Simply Sentimental Celebration collection. I have the word celebrate and cue the confetti. Alright, now that everything is stamped, I'm going to show you how to blend some colors onto these images. I'm using Tri-Blend markers by Spectrum Noir. These are alcohol-based with 3 colors in one marker. With most alcohol markers, you have 3 separate pens in the base color, the highlight, and the shading color. Tri-blends have all 3 built into one pen. As a beginner, I love that I don't have to dig through a collection of markers. Maybe in the future, I might like more choices, but for now, these work great. On this design, I'll be using light yellow, citrus blend, and gold yellow. I'm going to create the look of a sunset, so I'm starting out with light yellow. I'm going to color this over the whole image, and then I'll bring in some of the citrus to blend it over all of the rays. Eventually, some of this will be shaded with the darker yellow, but the gold yellow is very bold, and I need a lighter layer underneath to soften it a bit. One aspect that's often overlooked about alcohol markers is their blending capability. By layering lighter or darker colors underneath or on top of each other, you can alter the original color to achieve the desired shade. Now that I have a light layer of yellow, I'm going to bring in the mid-range gold yellow. I'm going to add this color partway up my sun rays. Now it does look a little patchy right now, and that's okay. As it dries and we blend in more colors, you'll be able to see those lines start to disappear. Near the base of the rays, I'm going to add the darkest gold yellow and blend it into the medium. Now, this stamped image could be shaded with just about any medium. I chose alcohol markers because I wanted to create a bold ombre look, but you could also bring in something like inks or other items that you have in your craft room. You could mask off the sentiment portion and blend some inks over the rays, or you could heat emboss the image and add some watercolors or glittery paints. Now at this point, some newbies get a little frustrated when they see all those harsh lines in their alcohol marker image. I know that I did when I first started. This is where we bring in the previous colors and start to blend. We'll blend inwards towards the darker color and blend outward toward the lighter color. As I do this, the lines are going to soften and you'll get a beautiful mix of yellow. If needed, you can bring in a darker yellow and deepen the hue, or bring in some of your lighter yellows and blend it into the golden blends. I often go back and forth between the colors, blending and layering the hues until I get the look that I'm going for. It's all a matter of preference and how much time you want to take adding color to your images. All right, now that we have these rays shaded, I'm going to add a few layers of coral over the centerpiece. Remember, this is going to be cut out, so we don't need to worry too much about staying in the lines. I do want to keep the letters white, so I'm carefully coloring around these as I bring in my darker and mid-range coral color. As I finish coloring this image, I would love it if you took a moment to tap the thumbs up icon and the subscribe button. We appreciate your support with these actions and always enjoy answering your questions and comments that you leave below. Things like this help the channel grow. So just like the yellow above, I brought back the mid and the light and I blended all those colors together. This has such a lovely ombre look, doesn't it? If you wanted to, you could bring in a shimmer brush and add a little bit of shine, or you could color in those letters with another color. I'm going to do something a little different with that sentiment. This is called a glaze pen. It is a waterproof pen designed to create a stained glass effect on plastic, glass, ceramic, and metal. It also creates a raised effect on paper, giving it the look of heat embossing. Once the ink starts flowing, you just fill in the letters. The liquid is rather thin, and it will expand and puff up as it dries. So make sure that you don't add too much to the thinner parts of the letters. Now once this dries, it creates a three-dimensional effect over the letters. I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but it looks and feels just like a heat embossed image. It's raised slightly up off the card and has a smooth texture. All right, now all the pieces are ready to be added to the card. I'm going to trim this image down to size, cut out that half circle sentiment, and show you how to assemble the card. I'm going to start with the larger piece of cardstock and place the long edge at the top of my paper trimmer. I'm going to score this at 3¼ inches and 6½ inches. To assemble the card, we're going to start with this large pattern piece. It's going to be placed in the center of the front panel on the card base. The large cardstock piece is going to be folded mountain, then valley, so that you have a Z shape. This is going to be adhered to the front of the card. I'm just adding adhesive to this back panel here, and then I'll center it over that pattern paper. When you open the card, it will look like this. I'm going to adhere one of the smaller pattern papers right here. This is where our pocket's going to sit. On the next inside panel, I'm adding the stamped sentiment. I am dressing this up a bit with a doodled frame. I'm just drawing some lines and dots with a black pen. You could also add some ink to the edges or stitching, or use a fancy frame die and create a beautiful edge around this piece. I'm going to adhere this right to the center panel here, and then we'll add that stamped image to the front of the card. I'm going to layer another polka dot pattern in the center. The stamped image was trimmed down up to the edge of the stamped design, and I'm going to back it with another piece of cardstock to create a nice white frame. This is going to sit right here, and then I'll layer that sentiment over the top. I did cut this out by hand, and I'm placing a little bit of foam tape on the back to give my card some dimension. Isn't that so pretty? Let's make our pocket real quick. I'm going to place the longer side of the pattern paper at the top of my paper trimmer and score this shorter side at 1/2 inch. I'm going to score the longer side here at 1 inch, then score the opposite short side at 1/2 inch. I'm going to cut along those score lines to remove these 2 corners, and I'm going to cut these at an angle. The angle cuts are not necessary, but they do help lessen the bulk once we fold all the sides in. Each of these flaps are folded to the back side of the pocket. I'm going to add a few strips of double-sided tape to these flaps. You can use any adhesive you like, just make sure that it's secure enough to hold your gift card in place. The pocket is adhered right here in the center of that inside panel. If you have a circle punch, you can add a little notch at the top. You could also add some decorations to the front of the pocket if you like. Let's finish up this card with a little bit of bling. These new heart baubles are so cute, and I've been waiting for an excuse to use them on a card. I'm going to space these out on the rays, and then I'll glue them in place. These new heart baubles come in multiple colors, and there are 3 sizes of hearts in each set. They're a great size for embellishing and would be super cute in a thicker shaker card. I'm going to finish adhering these down, and then I'll share the completed card with you. Isn't this just the sweetest? It has such a bright, beautiful image of encouragement on the front. Those heart gems just elevated this design, didn't they? I chose to shade this image with alcohol markers, but as I said earlier, you can add color to this with just about any medium you have in your collection. This is a simple fun fold that opens up to a sentiment and a pocket. I stamped the words "Celebrate, Cue the Confetti," and below that is a spot with a coffee gift card, because coffee is one of my favorite gifts to receive. This all sits on top of an A2 card, which can be opened up to add another sentiment. I'm going to share a few close-up photos of this project so that you can see all the fun details. Today I shared a simple, fun fold card design with a gift card pocket. The bright summery sentiment is one of the new releases from Trinity Stamps. This is another item that can be used for multiple occasions. Make sure to head on over to the Trinity Stamps site and check out all of the new items that were added this month. A link to the items I used today and to the Trinity Stamps shop can be found in the description below. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope this project inspired you to try something new. If you have any questions about this project or supplies I used, feel free to leave those in the comments below. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.